Hello everybody, Meurig here, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing the second video in an 8-part series of the normal Warpless speedrun guide for Bucky O'Hare. Before we do anything in the tutorial, I want to bring up that on this planet, just this planet, if you're moving and you press down and duck, you can actually stop on a dime instead of sliding all over the place. I realized I forgot to mention in the first tutorial video that the reason why we did Green Planet first is so that we could unlock Blinky, this little cute one-eyed robot, so that we could come to Blue Planet and unlock the main damage dealer of the crew. To swap between crew members, all you have to do is press select. Just like Bucky and all the other characters, they all have variable jump heights. Blinky has a arcing down shot that you can have 2 maximum on the screen at once. They do have a tendency to bounce in certain situations. These shots do also break ice blocks, and that's the reason why we grab him first. And if you press and hold the shot button, Blinky charges a jetpack and can float and be controlled in the air. In this little section in the beginning of Blue Planet, you're going to want to swap to Blinky, and I choose this section because it gives me ample time to move my thumb from the jump button to the select button in the back. In this area moving forward, it's kind of free, just be careful not to stop and slide off one of these icy spots. We want to do a max jump here, and then when we're starting to fall down, we want to take a shot with Blinky and shoot the single block that's kind of sticking out. It just makes the next jump up into that little section a little easier. Once we land, we want to jump up and take another shot and break the first block out. When you break these blocks out, one of these 2 blocks will have a toad kind of frozen in the ice. We're going to want to damage boost through them. The position of Blinky, where I pause the video, shows the exact last pixel that you can stand on Blinky to make this jump without falling. If you fall, it's fine. It's not much of a time loss. You just have to jump back up. This section up here is kind of interesting. To break these blocks efficiently, you're going to want to find a happy rhythm. You're not going to want to button mash Blinky's attack because, believe it or not, it's actually going to make this section just a tad bit slower. But you're going to want to find a happy rhythm when you're breaking these blocks out. So what we're going to do is break out all of these blocks except one, and we're actually going to fall in that pit there, and we're going to jump back up, and we're going to continue down the path of breaking these blocks. We're going to break these 4 ice blocks and fall into that little crevice inside the ice blocks. We're going to break these 4 ice blocks and fall into that crevice there. And we're going to break these 6 blocks ahead of us moving forward as we break them. And then we're going to duck and stop at the ledge before falling down. Last thing of note, in this room, we are going to jump and break the block, and a frog is going to come out at us. We're going to kill the frog, hop down to where the frog was, jump up to break those 2 blocks to continue on to the next screen. One thing that I didn't do in the previous tutorial was after each room, give a unpaused, uncut version of that room to show you the full speed. So moving forward in this tutorial, and every tutorial moving forward, we are going to give this footage after each section explanation. Now the next 3 rooms are all snake rooms. These kind of can be a pain in the rear if you don't have muscle memory of where to position yourself in rooms. But with this guide, we can make it through here with minimal issue. In each of the 3 snake rooms, the snakes that spawn at the very beginning of the room are on a timer for when you enter the room, so we want to position ourselves in a vantage point for when the snake is in its optimal position. When the snake clears the small cloud and is about ready to touch the larger cloud with his nose, it's about time for us to jump over to the snake and then jump to the ice blocks. If we stop on a dime here on these ice blocks, it will cause a off-screen snake to spawn, and we're going to want to time that jump as well. We wait for the snake to come up and just cover the white section of the background, which looks like an iceberg in the background. Then we can start moving. Then it's a matter of running and jumping to the next screen. Same thing as the first room, we're going to stop on the ledge and duct so we can stop on a dime, and we're waiting for the exact same visual cue. However, there is a power token in the way here. Blinky needs a maximum power token charge up to Yellow Planet, and we'll gather those tokens between Blue Planet and Yellow Planet. And to update you, no, Bucky does not need any power tokens at all for this run. We're actually going to jump up to the set of 6 blocks at the top, and we're going to stop on a dime up there. And we're going to wait for the snake to turn its head, and the moment the snake turns its head, we're going to jump down to the snake and run across. We wait a little bit longer on this one to give us ample running room to be able to clear the rest of the stage. Very similar to the last 3 rooms, however, if you are not quick enough in the entrance of this room, you can get pinned and killed by the snake that comes from the top of the screen. We're waiting for the exact same visual cue as the last 2. After we stop on a dime here, we're waiting for it to crest, or the nose to go past the small cloud and about to touch the big cloud, and then we'll jump over. And we're moving to the set of 6 ice blocks, and we're stopping on a dime up there as well. Now this snake is a little bit different than any other snake so far that we've encountered. We're waiting for it to do essentially the same thing as the entrance of the snakes have done. We want its nose to pass the small cloud and about to touch the big cloud, and that's when the snake's head's going to turn. We're going to jump on the snake and we're going to run up to a certain spot on the snake. When we're about ready to fall off the snake by walking onto its chin, we're going to actually want to do a medium to full jump with Blinky, and near the end of the jump, we're actually going to be shooting one of the ice blocks out, landing in the crook that we made, and jumping on top. It's kind of hard to tell, but when I was on the very top, I swapped over to Bucky. You don't have to swap up here, however, you're going to want to swap to Bucky before the next screen, because the next 2 screens, you're actually going to use Bucky to traverse. And now, the uncut version of the 3 snakes rooms. But anyways, a couple quick notes. Make sure that you're stopping on a dime anytime you stop, and practice the timing of the snakes. The snake timing is kind of tight, and especially for the very last snake. The last snake where you have to jump off to break a block and then jump up on top to swap to Bucky. That's a lot of inputs in a small section, but go ahead and practice it and you'll get it. And welcome to the Flamethrower Toads room. This room is actually deceptively technical, but I'm going to pause on every little section where I do some inputs, just to explain it a little bit more. we're going to want to take a max jump with Bucky and shoot at the top of the jump to take care of the toad that is going to be in the way. After landing on this floating iceberg, we're going to want to do a hero shot immediately to take care of a toad that's going to be off screen and in the way. This jump is actually deceptively tricky. So this jump is actually 4 tiles wide, and Bucky or any of the crewmates can make a 4 tile wide gap jump, but they are pretty precise. I don't think it's pixel perfect. It might be like it might be 2 or 3 pixels. But you're going to want to run to the very edge of this where you look like you're about ready to fall off of the ledge and then take a jump. When I start this clip back up, I'm actually going to slow it down so you can see how tight of a jump this actually is. Right before walking off of this floating iceberg, press and hold the shoot button as well as continue holding the right input. What happens is Bucky will automatically start to charge his charge jump and be able to make the iceberg on top. If you're a little confused about the inputs, look at the input visualizer in the top right corner and it should explain everything to you. Walk off that iceberg and just before landing, take a hero shot at a toad. After landing on this platform, take another hero shot and then jump. After landing on this iceberg, take another hero shot before you jump to the next iceberg. After jumping off of the small floating iceberg to the large iceberg that's in the water, we're going to want to take a hero shot over top of the cloud that's in the background. And then when we land, we're going to want to start mashing shot because the first shot's going to take care of a frog that's in the air. But the mashing is going to take care of 2 frogs that are in the way as well. And then continue and finish the screen. Now the uncut section. A couple things to note. Just get used to doing hero shots. This screen is very heavy with hero shots. And don't get discouraged with that 4 tile jump. It is, like I mentioned before, deceptively tricky. I miss it all the time. It just requires a little bit of practice and understanding. And this is the Freeburg. By Freeburg, I mean you can stand in the center and damage boost through everything. This is by far the most free screen in the game. Just make sure you grab the health before you leave the screen. There is one little trick you can do with Blinky, and I'll show you after just showing you the screen. And I'm not going to do the whole reviewing this screen because it's literally free. There's nothing you really need to know about this other than don't fall and don't forget the life token. This is probably one of the harder tricks in the game to pull off. What we're actually doing is charging Blinky's jetpack. And we're actually trying to reach the edge of the screen to cause the screen to transition before the little iceberg floats over there. This is only possible whenever the iceberg starts floating to the right of the screen, so don't try to do this before the iceberg starts floating. And you have to avoid taking damage from any of the flying toads because they will stop your charge of your jetpack. But while you're in the air, I do believe you can take damage. You can see I actually struggled doing this during the tutorial part. It is not easy. It's definitely not free. This is one of those, I would avoid it unless you're just kind of messing around. And welcome to Icy Descent. At this point, we're going to want to stop a little bit over than 1 tile away from this toad, and we're going to start wanting to break the blocks. And we're not going to want to mash the attack button because that'll throw the rhythm off, but you're going to want to break 3 blocks in a row, and when it's about ready to drop another ice block, there's a spike ball, this icy spike ball that comes from the toad above. It's actually going to break the floor out, and we're going to fall down. And we want to fall down at the same time as the floor is broken. Same thing as before, we're going to want to break the 3 blocks in a row here. Right when it's about ready to throw the icy block down on top of us, we're actually going to want to jump. So we're jumping over top of the icy spike ball, and we're going to kind of land almost on top of the ice blocks, like right where the ice blocks would be. But what's going to happen is the icy spike ball is going to come down through, break the floor, and we're actually jumping over top of the 4th ice block that the toad's throwing down, allowing us to maneuver quickly through this section. And you're going to want to be holding right after your jump. That way you can snake down through. The moment you fall down through the floor and you pass the floor below this, you're going to want to start holding left and get ready to break some more blocks. After snaking through that section, you're going to want to stop here, and you're going to want to break these 2 blocks as fast as possible. The timing will be such that if you break these 2 blocks quick enough, a icy spike ball will come down and open the floor. If not, you're going to have to play with the rhythm to time the ice block breaks correctly so that the icy spike ball will break the floor for us. This section's actually a little easier than the rest of the room. When we fall, we're going to fall in between these ice blocks here, as you can see. Basically, all you want to do is have a 3rd block in a row stacked. So it'd be the 2 blocks in front of Blinky and then 1 above him. And then you could break the blocks and none of the ice blocks will get in your way. But we don't need to rush here because the frog at the end of this, or the toad at the end of the screen, he's going to drop a spiky ice ball to break the floor. And you only need to be over there by the time he drops the 2nd one. So when I unpause this, you'll see that I'll break these 2 blocks and then I'll walk over and I'll stop on a dime right before the edge of the where the hole is. And then I'll wait till he starts dropping the ice ball, and then I'll continue down. And then it's weaving back and forth on some icy platforms until we reach the bottom of the room. We're going to damage boost through this toad. One of 2 outcomes is going to happen when you reach this point. You can either jump over the single ice block here in the room, as I do in the video, or the cycle of the spike balls that roll down through with you will make it in such a way that you actually have to wait for the ice blocks to form. I tried to capture that. I ran through this room probably 20-30 times in an attempt to find that so I could show you the other situation. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do it. So in this case, we actually jump over this single ice block that's in front of us and we continue on to the next room. And welcome to Pistons. This room requires quite a bit of precise timing, but I'm going to break down every single little spot that I take a jump or I pause to show you the exact timing to do this room. After I go over the explanation of this route, I'm also going to do a little bit easier, kind of more conventional way through this room in case you do miss the piston jump if you jump a little shallow. And then we'll do the uncut version of this version and the other version afterwards. So in this example, I added a color-coded section of lines over top of this piston. The red lines indicate whether we are jumping too early or too late. The yellow line, which is just below the top of the piston, is actually the animation frame that we want to aim for when we're jumping up on top of the piston. And the green line is actually where Blinky is going to land when we do the jump properly. I'm going to slow this next section of the video down to about 15-20% speed from normal speed, so you can actually watch the piston move while Blinky is in the air. This next jump is the tightest jump in all of Blue Planet. We're trying to sneak Blinky between the piston and the ice spikes above. You want to do a light to medium jump, but if you're too light, you're going to miss the piston, and if you jump a little too hard, you're actually going to kill Blinky on this section. Another thing to note, I do believe this jump is pixel perfect, and if you messed up at all with the first piston, this jump is impossible. So off of this piston, we're going to jump when we're about halfway along the piston, and we want to land on the icy platform above just a little bit before the ice ball so we can break it with one of Blinky's shots. You never want to let go of the right input because this lines up for the next piston for us to land on so we don't miss any of the animation frames there. So one of the neat things when you're editing videos is you see little details that you didn't notice before. My visual cue is the section of the piston that I've highlighted where the medium grays go to dark grays rather quickly, and you take a shot here when the piston's all at its peak, but I didn't notice that Blinky's shot actually clips through the corner of the piston when it's taking out the first top ice bubble. When we start walking forward, we want to take a shot at the bubble, but we don't want to jump up quite yet because even a small jump could very well kill Blinky at this point. So you're going to want to take a shot, and you're going to want to let the piston lower itself a little bit more. When the piston is level with the gray blocks behind it, to the left of it I mean, that's when we want to do a light to a medium jump to get up on the ice platform, and we can break the two ice bubbles that are left over. Last but not least, a medium to lightweight jump to finish this room. Okay, so I lied. We're going to do the uncut version of the advanced route through this room first. The very most important part is the timing of this first piston to line up the rest of the room. If you miss the timing of this piston, you're going to have to use the strat that is after this full speed clip. This is the uncut clip of the safer route through this room. Really, there's nothing to really mention about the timing of this. It's more or less just kind of like a feel through the room. I've already broke down the rest of the room in pretty solid detail with the other strat, so you can kind of borrow from the other strat, but this one's more of the, oops, I missed the jump, what do I do now? And welcome to Icebox, probably the least dangerous room in all of Blue Planet. However, to do this room pretty quickly, it is kind of difficult. So we're going to break this room down as well. When we pass the gray block in the background, we're going to want to jump over top of the toad that's in our way and shoot the two ice bubbles that are on the stack of 4 over there. That way we don't lose forward momentum at all. We're going to want to break the two ice bubbles that are in front of us right now, and the first one's going to spawn a toad when we break it. We're just going to damage boost it and continue on our way. Right before you pass the gray blocks in the background, we're going to do a max jump with Blinky At the peak of the jump, we're going to take a shot, and we're going to break one of the ice bubbles that are in the way so that we can do a little, the lightest possible jump you can to continue through. If you're not careful, you can bonk the edge here a little bit and lose just a little bit of time. But if you just do a light tap before hitting the wall, Blinky will continue through without losing any forward momentum. At this point, we're going to want to break the ice block or ice bubble that's in front of us, and then there's going to be two more that's in our way, and both of those will spawn a toad, so we're just going to damage boost through them as well. And then to finish this room, we need to break these 3 blocks, and the last block you're going to break is also spawning a toad, so we're going to damage boost through that and continue on to Negator. Like I mentioned before, this is a fairly easy room. This might just take a couple tries to get down. Towards the very end, where you do break the 3 blocks, there is a faster strat there, but I've never been able to land it, where when you're jumping out of the nook, you can break the 2 blocks and land on the ledge at the exact same time. It's just more consistent pretty much for me to go into the little nook, jump up to break the 2 ice bubbles, and then jump into the nook that I just made and break the last ice bubble where the toad is right before Negator. So take some time and practice this room. It shouldn't take too much time. Welcome to Negator. I hope your mash hand is strong, because this guy takes 160 shots to kill. Start off this encounter by switching to Bucky and stopping on a dime between the last 2 water flows, or whatever this green muck is, and you're going to wait till Negator shows up. Negator is a very scripted boss, so his attack pattern is the same. However, when we start this fight, we're actually going to be starting in the middle of his attack cycle. What he does before each shot is he'll jump and then land, and then he'll take a shot with a rocket, and then the rocket is going to change position depending on which part of his attack cycle is. When we first start this fight, like I mentioned, he's going to be halfway through or partial way through his attack cycle, so we're going to want to follow this specific pattern until he freezes the floor. The first shot we're going to want to jump over. The second shot we're going to want to stand our ground and continue mashing. The third jump we're going to want to jump over. The fourth jump we're also going to want to jump over. After the fourth attack from Negator, he changes it up a little bit and does a freeze ray at the max part of his jump. We're actually going to want to wait a little bit before we jump, because if we jump the same time he does, we'll actually be frozen in the floor. So wait till he reaches about almost his maximum height of his jump, and then jump so we don't get frozen in the floor. If you get frozen, you'll be unstuck whenever you take damage from his rocket, but you can still do damage to him. However, any damage taken here is going to slow the time for our next split, so do the best you can to not get frozen when he shoots the freeze ray. The fifth shot, we're actually going to want to stand our ground and continue mashing. This is the rocket that would hit us if we got frozen in the ground. In the sixth and final shot, we're going to want to jump over, and then the pattern restarts. Couple key notes before I unpause this and show you the full Negator fight without cuts or pauses. Just learn his pattern. It's scripted. There's no RNG in this fight. So understanding his pattern is the most important. You can deal damage to him while you're jumping. If you jump roughly at the same time he does between his rockets, you can still attack him and deal damage to him. But main thing is don't get frozen and learn when to stand your ground and when to jump. And just like I mentioned in the previous tutorial video, we are going to want to split on the high note of the fanfare to keep consistency for our splits. And now we unlocked Jenny, the most overpowered character in the game. I will go over her specifics in the next tutorial. But just for this menuing here, it's very simple. Press and hold B, mash A, and then start mashing start towards the end when we're getting ready to select planets. And that concludes the Blue Planet tutorial. I want to thank everybody for your constructive criticism and input to improve these guides. These are my first guides I've ever made, so I'm learning as I go. For the record, Rocketsana, I know that those are toads. If you liked this guide or found it helpful, please leave a like, share, subscribe for more of the Bucky O'Hare normal Warpless speedrun tutorials. Leave a comment down below if there is any questions or any ways that I can improve this tutorial. There's going to be links in the description below for the MeurigVII Discord, the Bucky O'Hare speedrun Discord, as well as the link for the KungFusedMike input visualizer that I used during this tutorial. But that is everything I have for this tutorial, so I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of their day.